Hello, my name is M.W.Burnette. I am a home studio music producer, songwriter, and recording artist, and this is my video diary. So lately I've been talking to you about the new album that I've been working on, entitled Porcelain. It's it's an ironic title. This is a Christmas album, but the reason that I put it in quotes like that is because it's not like a Christmas album that you've heard before. This is a rock and roll album. There are no mentions of snow or any of or reindeer or bells or any of those other sort of cultural uh, those typical Christmas tropes that we're used to, and that's very deliberate because the point of this album is to take this idealized, sanitized, and kind of distant, detached story of the Nativity that we follow every year, and make it real to us, and to flesh out these people and show them as three-dimensional human beings with the same kind of problems and fears and wants and victories that we have, so that we can relate to them and that we can apply the lessons that they learned through their experience to our own lives. So today I want to talk about Mary. And this was probably the hardest song on the whole album to write, because I didn't know how to present Mary, being respectful to her, but also showing her as a human being with fears and flaws, and also because I'm a man, and I didn't want to have a patronizing sort of tone, telling her story. So how to go about that was really a complicated thing. I had a hard time, and I went through several different iterations of songs and different approaches before I finally kind of landed on the one that did finally become the song. And I ended up just doing sort of a kind of a ballad telling her story. And I think that her story is one that we can relate to, as long as we don't put her on too high of a pedestal. If we remember that she is a normal human being who was tasked with a superhuman job to do, then and we can realize the magnitude of that, then I think it helps us to understand her better, and it helps us to understand ourselves better too. Because even if you take the supernatural element out of her story, even if it wasn't the Son of God that she was to bring into this earth, just the simple fact that she lived in first century Israel and had a child out of wedlock. It's scandalous now for people to have children out of wedlock. Not quite to the degree it was, then, or not to the degree it was even a generation ago. But there's still a social stigma to a single mother. And single mothers in our society today have a rough time. I don't have to tell you that. There's plenty of social data out there for you. You don't have to look very hard to find out how hard it is for single mothers to pay for childcare expenses and find the time to take the kids to school and help them with their homework and all of the soccer practice and all the other things that kids do, while holding down a job and making ends meet in a single income household. That's no easy thing to do. And I don't think that it was any easier in first century Jerusalem. So I think that that's a starting place where we can start to relate to her story. And so from the very beginning, you think that she's got to be afraid of what's coming. I mean, this has got to seem, once she was told what was going on there, you have to think that she saw this as something much bigger than her, and had to question whether she had the stuff to see it through. And another thought that I had about this, and this is a theme that kind of goes through several of the songs on this album, is this notion of you persist in doing what you've been instructed to do, even after that sort of mountaintop experience is over. So Mary is told that she's going to have a child by an angel, but you got to remember that 9 months go by from the time that angel came to her and she had that baby. And so I'm thinking that probably somewhere around like month number 7 or month number 8, that she was kind of looking back at that moment and wondering, it's like, did I make that all up? Did I just imagine that? Have I lost my mind? What did I have to eat that day? Had it turned? Because your mind does that. Your brain does that. You can have these really monumental spiritual experiences, but then after some time has gone by and the reality of your situation comes to you, and you realize that just like you did before that happened, is every day you have to wake up and get out of bed, and it's not always easy to do that, and you've still got to do the things that you got to do. You've got to clean yourself up, you've got to go to work, and you've got to face those same challenges. You've still got to feed yourself, you've got to pay your bills, and do all of those things that you have to do to stay alive and to stay healthy. And that all of that stuff didn't go away just because of this spiritual experience that you had. You still have to face that daily reality of just existence, and that wears you down. So I think that, just because the angel came to Mary didn't mean that she was then somehow exempt from all of that. So that's what I like to think about Mary is in the later terms of that pregnancy, when it was starting to get hard for her to move around a little bit, and was feeling those. Of course, I've never been pregnant, so I don't know, but as I've been told, the different aches and pains, and your clothes not fitting quite right, and you being sore everywhere, and your emotions going out of whack, and going from being overjoyed and jubilant one moment to just being absolutely terrified the next, and feeling completely alone and depressed. That's the sort of thing that she'd experienced, and but I think that there was enough. She had enough of that sort of grit to not let that get the better of her, and even in month number 8, as things were getting late, and the world being a scary place, because that the census that they had to go to Jerusalem for, that didn't just show up overnight. I mean, they would have had weeks, months, maybe years even to plan for that, and to have that just hanging over their head, knowing that this is this thing they've got to go in and do, and not sure how that's going to work with her being pregnant. I mean, that's a pain today. If you want to go travel today when you're pregnant, not knowing, when you're close to your due date or whatever, and you've got to go stay in some hotel out of town. I mean, even in our cushy world today, that's a hassle. That's scary. And you think about how stressful it is now, just as April 14th starts rolling around, and you're thinking, have I done everything? Did I do my taxes right? What if the IRS comes and audits me? It's like now, the IRS may audit you, but they're not going to cut your head off. I mean, Mary and Joseph lived under the Roman Empire, where they nailed people up on crosses to make a point. So, you figured that them having months to worry about what was going to happen once they got to Jerusalem and making sure that they crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, that was a scary time for them. But the thing that we can take away from that is that God never abandoned them, even when the people around them might have been looking at them and thinking these two are crazy, and but God was still there, and God accomplished His purpose through them because they remained faithful. So anyway, I guess I've been going on for long enough on that one, and maybe I've made a point there. But anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.